Hello everybody, hope all of you are well. Today I will discuss the last portion of the chapter structure of atom, that is the electronic configuration. Previous day also I have discussed the different type of rules. Okay. Now based upon the rules that the Hund's rule, above principle, Pauli-Schussen principle, okay, the sequence of energy level and the electronic configuration of element, okay, will follow this order. So already I have discussed this diagram, that after 1s there will be 2s, then 2p, then 3s, then 3p, then 4s, then 3d, then 4p, 5s, then 4d, 5p, 6s. Okay. Now we will discuss the anomalous electronic configuration of some elements. First one is chromium. Chromium, what is the atomic number of chromium? That is 24. Okay. So the electronic configuration we expect, that is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, then 4s2, 3d4. That we expected. Okay. So here total number of electron here is 10, and here is 10 plus 4, 24. But it is not the correct electronic configuration. What will happen? So one electron from S will go to the d orbital. Okay. That is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s1, 3d5. That will be the correct electronic configuration of chromium, because here the 5 electrons in the d orbital, they remain as unpaired. So this is half filled orbital condition. Okay. Half filled and full filled, we know that orbitals are very much stable, because the spin exchange energy as well as the symmetry. So whenever one electron will go from this S to 5 orbital, that is d5, that is very much stable. That is why chromium has this electronic configuration rather than this one. Okay. So this is incorrect. This one is correct. In the same way, if we discuss the electronic configuration of copper is 29. So here, if we write the electronic configuration, the expected is twice 2s, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d9. But it is also wrong. Okay. Here, if we take one electron from s orbital to this 3 orbital, then we will get 3d10. And again 3d10 is very much stable electronic configuration, because this is the full filled orbitals and they are very much stable because of spin exchange energy and symmetry criterion. So what will be the correct electronic configuration for copper? That will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s1, 3d10. So whenever we are writing the 3d10, here all orbitals are fulfilled. Okay. And that is why their electronic configuration is very much stable. Okay. Hope you can understand. Next we discuss the electronic configuration of some ions. Okay. Suppose if we think about Na+. So how it is formed? Sodium releases one electron forming Na+. Okay. Now what is the electronic configuration of sodium? Sodium, how many electrons are there? There are 11 electrons. So its electronic configuration for sodium atom will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. So it will release the electron from this outermost cell. Okay. So Na+ electronic configuration will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, okay, 3s0. This will be the electronic configuration of Na+1. Understand? Now we will go to the electronic configuration of Fe+2, that is ferrous ion. So in case of ferrous ion, it is generally formed when iron releases 2 electron forming Fe2 plus. Okay. Now, what is the total number of electron in case of iron? Can you tell me? That is nothing but 26. Okay. So iron has 26 electrons. So if we write the electronic configuration of iron, then we can understand that it will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, then 3s2, 3p6, then 4s2, 3d, six. Now, if you want to write the electronic configuration of Fe2 plus, definitely the electron will be released from the outermost cell. So which one is outermost? Here I have written 3d because here n plus l value is higher. That is why I have written later. But 4s n plus l value is lower. But this one is the outermost cell. Okay. So it will release 2 electrons from this cell. So what will be the electronic configuration of Fe2 plus? That will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, then 3d6 and 4s0. Okay, this you need not to write. So you write that 3p6 then 3d6. Okay, that will be the electronic configuration of Fe2 plus. Understand? Next, if we want to discuss the Fe3 plus, so this Fe2 plus again release 1 electron. From which orbital it will release? That d orbital. So 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, then 3p6, then 3d5. Now when the 3d6 from Fe plus 2 in Fe plus 3 is becoming 3d5, that is all are half filled electrons filled with unpaired electrons. Okay, so this half filled electronic configuration is very much stable. That is why if we keep ferrous solution in air, that will be easily oxidized to ferric. Okay, so that is why when we will perform some chemical test with this ferrous ion, okay, or ferrous solution, then we have to prepare freshly prepared ferrous sulfate or ferrous solution. Okay, because it will always release 1 electron for being ferric Fe plus 3, and where the electronic configuration indicates that this is very much stable. Okay, so ferric ion is more stable than ferrous ion. This is the cause, because of the half filled electronic configuration where 3d5 is very much stable. So in this way you have to practice the electronic configuration of ion solution. Next we discuss some anomalous electronic configuration. Okay, if we want to discuss the anion, we have discussed the cation. So if you want to discuss the electronic configuration like Cl minus, okay. In case of Cl minus, you have to write the electronic configuration of Cl first. So Cl will accept 1 electron forming Cl minus. So what is the total number of electron in chlorine? That will be 17. So its electronic configuration will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p5. Okay. So here total number of electron is 17. Now this will accept 1 electron in Cl minus, okay, and becomes total number of electron 18. So this will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6. In this way we can easily able to write the electronic configuration of anions. Okay, that we will practice. Next we will discuss the some anomalous electronic configuration of niobium. In case of niobium, when you want to fill up their orbitals with electron, then you have to write that 4d4 in the last electronic configuration, that 4s2, 4p6, okay, 4d4, 5s1. So this is anomalous, that you have to remember. In case of molybdenum also, there is some anomalous electronic configuration. Here the last orbital electronic configuration will be 4s2, 4p6, 4d5, 5s1. So this thing you have to remember, okay. Suppose if we want to write the electronic configuration of silver, okay, In case of silver like copper, okay, it will be 40-10, 5s1. So this type of anomalous electronic configurations you have to read from book and it may come in your exam. So you have to remember. Next, the other anomalous electronic configurations are lanthanum, cerium, maybe their platinum. Okay, this thing you have to remember, like gold also the anomalous electronic configuration. And regarding the magnetic moment, if you want to remember the magnetic moment, you have to put one formula, that is number of unpaired electron. If x is the number of unpaired electrons, so the magnetic moment will be root over x into x plus 2 bm, that is Bohr magnetism. Okay, so in this way you can easily calculate the magnetic moment of the particular element depending upon the number of unpaired electrons. Next, in this way we have completed the electronic configuration part, and only one part remained. Okay, that is now very little in your syllabus. Okay, but I am discussing. That is the radial part of the wave functions. Okay, in order to obtain a clear idea about the shapes of orbitals, we first discuss the variation of radial part of the wave function and square of the radial wave function and radial distribution function with the increase in the distance from the nucleus. Now we have to know the plot of the distance from the nucleus, that is r versus psi r. If we plot, then you can understand. In x-axis we will plot the r, and you know that psi is the wave function, okay, of the electron. So the radial part psi r. So that is the radial wave function. This is called radial Now, in case of 1s orbital, the plot will be like this, where n is equal to 1 and n is equal to 0. Plot will be like this. So that means the radial wave function, that is psi r, decreases, or r decreases. Psi r or r decreases if we increase the distance. Okay. So whenever we are increasing the r, okay, its value decreases. Now in case of 2s orbital, what will be the plot? And it will going near about 0. Okay. In case of 2s orbital, psi r or r versus r, here in case of 2s orbital, that is n is equal to 2 and n is equal to 0. So here if we plot, you will get a curve like this. That means here at this point there is one node where the probability of finding of electron is 0. Then it's go below the negative value of the psi r. Again it increases. Understand? Now in case of 2p orbital, what will be the type of curve? 2p orbital, psi r versus r. Okay, so 2p orbital, the curve will like hump. So here first the if we increase the distance, the value r, that psi r value increases, then again it decreases. Okay, where n is equal to 2 and n is equal to 1. And if we draw the radial curve, okay, that is the plot of distance for the nucleus versus nuclear distance, that is r versus the psi r. If we draw in case of 3s, definitely we will get 2 nodes. We are drawing in case of 3s, where this one is the psi r and this one is the r. and here n is equal to 3 and n is equal to 0. So in this case, if we draw the car will come like this. Okay. So definitely here we will get the two nodes. This one is one node, this one is one node. So two nodes. But the probability of finding of electron is 0. So first, if we increase the distance, the psi r value decreases and reaches 0, then we are getting negative value, again it will increase. Okay. So the square of the radial wave function, that is psi square r or r square for an orbital, gives the radial density. Next we will draw the radial density curve. The variation of psi square r as a function of r of different orbitals are given in the figure, and the nature of these curves are different for different orbitals. Okay. So now we will plot r square versus r. R square versus r. Now what is this r square? This r square is the radial or probability density. Okay. This is the probability density. Radial probability density. Okay. Now if we draw the line, then you can understand this one. This one is the 1s. Okay. Now if we plot the r square versus r, okay, for 2s, definitely we will get one node. Curve will be like this. This one is for 2s. So this one is the node. Okay, where the probability of finding electron is 0. Now if we draw the curve for 2p orbital, there is r square versus r. So we will get a hum like curve here also. This is the curve for 2p orbital. Next, radial probability density curve. In order to determine the total probability in a infinitesimally small region, we have to multiply this probability density, that is the psi square r, okay, or this part, okay, or r square, by the volume of the region. Then the probability will be psi square r into dV. Okay. Now since the atoms have a spherical symmetry, it is more useful to discuss the probability of finding electron in a spherical cell between the sphere of radii r2 r plus dr and the volume of such a cell of elementary or extremely small thickness dr. That will be, so volume will be 4 pi r square dr. That will be the volume of a such cell of extremely small thickness dr. That will be 4 pi r square dr. Okay. And next, we have the probability. So if we want to discuss the probability, that will be r square into 4 pi r square dr. Okay. So from here we can write that will be equal to 4 pi r square, that is psi r square into dr. That we can write, or here better you write that psi r square. Okay, psi r square dr. Okay, now this gives the probability of finding the electron at a particular distance r from the nucleus, and this is called the radial distribution function. That means this full term. Okay, this full term, that means here we can write that this one, better you write this one psi square r dr. Okay, so this one is called radial density function. Okay, radial distribution function. Radial distribution function. Okay, now if we plot the graph between this 4 pi r square psi square r dr versus r, we are writing this one is rdf and here r. rdf is the radial distribution function. So in case of 1s, we will get a curve like this. This is the maximum. So this is the 1s. So maximum probability density will be here. This is the maximum probability density. If we want to draw the curve for 2s, definitely there will be one note. So here along this y-axis, this one is y-axis, this one is x-axis. If we want to draw the curve for 2s, then we will get 2 hump like this. Okay, so this is the maxima here for this for this curve. Here this is the maximum. Okay, where the maximum probability density is here. Now in case of 2p, if this one is the RTF and this one is the R, then we will get the curve like this. This is the 2p and this is the maximum probability density. And in case of 3s, we will get 3 humps. This one is the RDF and this one is the R. So here we will get 3 humps like this. Okay, this is for 3s and this is the maximum. Okay, in the similar way, if we draw the 3p, we will get 2 hump, and if we get the 3d, we will get 1 hump. Okay, so in this way you have to understand this is the radial probability density function. Okay, actually all this came by solving the Schrödinger-Wave equation. Now Schrödinger-Wave equation is not in your syllabus because of this pandemic situation. Syllabus is reduced because time is very short. Okay, so in this way we have also completed the chapter structure of atom. Next chapter is the classification of elements and periodicity in properties. There is a periodic table. So in class 10 already you have learned, okay, in details. Here also we will discuss this chapter. Okay, you know the Mendeleev's law of periodic table, and Mendeleev's law of periodic table was one of the greatest milestone in the development of chemistry. Mendeleev first successfully arranged the elements, okay, in a table that is called Mendeleev's periodic table, and the law is called Mendeleev's law. Perhaps the arrangement of Mendeleev's table is not satisfactory one, because whenever in the year of 1930 Moseley plotted root over nu versus z, okay, that is the root nu versus atomic number, he got a straight line. But if we plot root over nu, that is the root over frequency versus the atomic mass, then we will not get a linear relationship or not a straight line. So if I draw the graph, then you can understand. In case of root over nu frequency versus atomic mass, then we will get a zigzag line like this. This is not a linear function. But if we plot root nu versus atomic number, that is z, then we will got a straight line. So from here in 1913 Moseley conclude that atomic number was a or is a better fundamental property, okay, than the atomic mass. Consequently, the periodic law was modified, and according to the modern periodic law, the physical and chemical properties of elements are the periodic functions of their atomic numbers. That is, when elements are arranged in the increasing order of their atomic numbers, similar elements, okay, will repeat, or we can say that recur after regular intervals. The recurrence of elements with similar properties after certain regular intervals, when these are arranged in the increasing order of their atomic numbers, is called periodicity. The cause of periodicity is the recurrence of similar electronic configuration. If we look at the periodic table, then in case of group 1, that there is hydrogen first, then there is lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium. If we look at their valence shell electronic configuration, all have same number of valence shell electron, that is ns1, only one valence electron is there. So because of the similar valence shell electronic configuration, their property is also same. Understand? So the cause of the periodicity is the recurrence of the similar electronic configuration in the valence shell. Now the properties of elements get repeated after intervals, that is 2, 8, 8, 18, 18 and 32, because of similar electronic configurations recurs only after these intervals. So the numbers 2, 8, 18, 32, they are called magic number. They are called magic numbers, okay, because these numbers are useful in locating the elements with similar properties, okay. The horizontal rows in the periodic table, that's the modern periodic table, from left to right, okay, are called periods. And if we look at the modern periodic table, there are 7 periods. Now vertical columns in the periodic table starting from top to bottom are called groups or families. They are 18 groups, okay, so total 18 groups are there. Now there are 14 elements just after the lanthanum and another 14 elements just after the actinium, and these elements are placed just below of the periodic table or the bottom positions into separate rows. at the bottom of the periodic table to avoid the undue expansions of the periodic table. The elements in the first row are called lanthanides or lanthanoids, and those in the second row, okay, are called actinides or actinoids. These are also called inner transition elements because the last electron in them enters into the cell which is the inner or the penultimate cell. Penultimate cell means the cell inside the valence cell, okay, inside just after the valence cell, the inside cell, okay, is called the penultimate cell. So if the valence cell is the n, so penultimate cell will be the n minus 1. Now elements belongs to group 1 or 1a are called alkali metals. I think all of you know. And group 2 or 2a elements are called alkaline earth metals, and group 11 or 1b are called coinage metals. Group 15 or 5a are called pnictogens or nicogens, okay, and group 16 or 6a elements are called chalcogens. Group 17s are called halogens, okay. So we are telling that pnictogen, chalcogens, halogens, because in case of halogen they are sea salt former, chalcogens are ore forming, and nicogens are they are choking, okay. We cannot use these gases for breathing, okay. So in this way this name came. Coinage metals means these metals are used to prepare coins, okay. And the last group, that is the group 18s, they are called zero groups, or they are also called aerogens or noble gas or inert gas or rare gas. The elements constituting groups 1, 2 and groups 13 to 18 are called normal or representative elements because the electrons in their valence cells are filled in accordance with the normal rules for filling of electrons in orbitals. So they are called representative elements, okay. That is the group 1 and 2, that is the S block, that I discussed why they are called S blocks, and P block elements, that is from group 13 to 18, okay. And the elements in the group 3 to 12 are known as transition elements. These are so named because their properties represent a transition to change from highly reactive metals, okay. So in the left side there is highly reactive metals and right side there is non-metal. So their properties are in transition, okay, between metal and non-metals. That is why they are called transition elements, okay. In this way you will read the whole things from your book, okay. Today we will discuss one more topic, that is the IUPAC nomenclature of elements, where the atomic number that is the Z is greater than 100. Suppose if I write the 101, actually from 101 to 118 these elements are given on the names of the scientist, okay. So 101 is the symbol is Md. Why it is Md? Because it is Mendelevium, and there are some rules to write this IUPAC nomenclature or IUPAC nomenclature. In case of 1 we will tell an, 0 we will tell nil, and this is 1 an, and finally we have to add yam, okay. So its IUPAC name will be an nil an yam, an nil an yam. And then what will be the symbol of this element according to IUPAC? That will be U N U. An nil an U we have taken, nil N is taken, and then an yam, this U is taken. UNU. Next there is 102 and its symbol is NO, and its name, there is a common name is Nobelium, Nobelium. So its IPSC name will be Nilbaium, and its symbol will be, according to IPSC, UNB. So in this way you have to practice the IPSC nomenclature of elements. Suppose the last discovered the elements, now in periodic table 118 elements are completed, discovery completed, and their characteristics, property all are properly done, and last we have discovered the element, that is the nihonium. Nihonium is 113 and its symbol is, in case of nihonium, that is NH. Okay, and its IPSC name will be 1, that means Antrium, and its symbol will be UT. Okay. Next we can think about that Livermorium. Okay, that is 116. This is also recently discovered, and its symbol is LV. Okay, and its IPSC name will be Anhexium, and its symbol will be UH. So in this way you have to remember. And the last two element 117, its symbol is TS and its name is Tennessine, and its IPSC nomenclature will be Unseptium, and its symbol will be UUS in case of 118. Okay, and this is the Ognason, its symbol is OG, and here its IPSC name will be Octium. So it will be UO. That will be the IPSC symbol of this organism. So these from 101 to 118 elements, okay, their common name as well as their IPSC name you have to remember, as well as their both the common symbol and IPSC symbol. Okay, so today up to this. Okay, thank you.